Guys, have you ever wondered why there hasn't been any writing from God or from Yahweh or any of the pantheon of gods that was listed back in the day, whether it was Greek or Roman? Why did that end? Why have we not heard anything else? Why has nothing else been written at all? We're going to get into that, guys. This is not a Bible study lesson. We're going to go into history here, so stay tuned. And the reason I say that we're going to use some of the oldest translations is because so many of the new ones have been changed to fit whatever narrative that was handy at that time. Let's look at Deuteronomy 32:8. This is very interesting, and it's called the Cosmic Assembly. Now, in the modern Bibles, the scribes conveniently changed one of the words here, and it's right here at the bottom. In the original text in Deuteronomy, it says sons of God. Now, they changed it conveniently to the sons of Israel. You know why? To make that God the dominant God anyway. But this cosmic assembly in Deuteronomy 32:8, it says, when the Most High, and that would be El Elyon, gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided all of mankind, he fixed the borders of the people according to the number of the sons of God. And there were 70 sons, and there were 70 divided areas that was handed out. And that's very important. But we haven't heard anything from any of those 70 nations in quite a long time. Now, we're going to look at a couple of other sections of the Bible that talk about this cosmic assembly. In other words, when the sons of God and God sat down in this council and they had a discussion. But let me point out something very quickly. The fact that in the book of Psalms, you had different people that are attributed to writing this, but none of those people wrote any of this, guys. They copied it from older sections of books like Enoch and going further back than that, because none of them were there. Who was the only one that ever went to heaven, came back with an official decree? There was one. It was Enoch, and going to the ancient Sumerian, it was Enmanduranki. Enoch and Enmed. Anyway, those are the ones that would have been in these cosmic assemblies, in that courtroom. And again, they brought the information back, and they conveniently took the book of Enoch out, which really is not a big deal because it in itself was a copy from an older book. And between the book of Deuteronomy and the book of Psalms, some time passed, guys. It's not all back to back. But here in this courtroom, El Elyon is saying, you are God's son of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, you shall die like men and fall like any prince. Why? Why did he say that? Was he lying to them? No, they had done things that they now blame on the fallen angels, and God was not happy with them. And what he did was take their immortal life away. Or does the book of Enoch say that they are all buried in the ground? Now, we're talking about Yahweh and 69 other gods, or sons of Elohim. That's not a plural word. The sons of Elohim are the sons of God. Elohim is El Elyon. Remember that. It's not a group of people. They try to confuse you, but it's not working. And guys, they had polluted their 70 different areas they were assigned to. Yahweh was given Israel and the people. Then you had the prince of Persia. You had Baal. You had 69 other sons of Elohim. Now, I want to move to the New Testament just for a moment. This is Luke 10:1 to 10:18. Again, not a Bible study. But what had happened, again, New Testament came after what we were reading in the Old Testament. What happened is the gods that were assigned, or the sons of gods that were assigned to the different areas, blew the mission. They mated with women. They created a lot of deception. They pretended to be the Almighty Lord instead of our father El Elyon, their father. And he was very unhappy because they had created Babylon. They had created confusion. And our Father says, I am not the author of confusion. He didn't do it. They did it. That's why they were condemned. Now, I've talked about Jesus had to come back after all of this mess we're talking about and reinstate the truth. But what did he do? After this, in Luke 10, Christ appointed 70 others and sent them one ahead of him, 2 by 2, into every town and place. And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. These are the 70 places that they had to go to straighten out the 70 places that God had given his sons authority over. But he took it away from them. Let's go back for a moment. Guys, listen to what I'm telling you now. Psalms 82. I said, you are God, sons of the Most High, all of you, every one of you, all 70. Nevertheless, you shall die like men and fall like any prince. They were not eternal past this point. They had blown the mission. Their mission was to help mankind, to watch over it, but they all blew it. They created wars, destruction, confusion, and attempted to become gods themselves. Now, if you guys feel more comfortable, and I'm not talking to all of you, but if you feel more comfortable reading the newer Bibles that have been washed over and lied to and that, creates a safety blanket, it's actually creating a trap. So what I want to do here is look at, again, Deuteronomy 32:8, as it was preserved in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Why were they hidden? Because our Father knew that there would be a couple thousand years of burning books, taking them out of the Bible, destroying archaeological treasures, and they were hidden until this generation. That's why they were preserved. But the division, El Elyon divides the nations, this again in the original scrolls, according to the number of the Beni Elohim. Beni means son, or Ben means son, Elohim means God. The 7 sons, again, Elohim is plural. Do not be deceived. Yahweh is explicitly listed right there in the text as receiving his assigned portion, the people of Jacob, because he explicitly is named as a recipient in that specific geographic division. He was objectively cast as part of the 70-son administrative grid, the same 70 grids that Christ sent out his disciples that he had taught to straighten the mess out. And going back to Enoch for a minute, again, he was probably the one there, and again, he brought this divine council report down, and in that report, the fallen angels were cast into the rocks. And again, people cannot figure out that the sons of God became fallen. They weren't fallen angels, by the way, but anyway, it says they were buried in the rocks, right? And it even says that in the original Sumerian texts. Again, E-N for Enoch and N-E-N for Enmandanki, the original Enoch. He says that these gods were buried in the dirt also. But they weren't gods in the sense that so many people think of. The Romans took Yahweh, who was appointed Israel or Jacob, and that was really was not the first appointed sections, to be honest with you. There was many in line ahead of him for different portions, but his was Jacob. Anyway, it tells us there that in that ancient text, these gods were buried. So where does it leave us again? We've got Christ, we've got our Father. And Christ came when he was crucified, to clean up the mess. He even tore the veil off of what they call God's temple, which was Yahweh's temple, because think about the timing. The book of Enoch was written a long time before the crucifixion. Do you understand where we're going now? So when he was crucified, great earthquake, sun dimmed out for 3 hours, and the veil of the Yahweh's temple was torn in half. Why? To expose that it was empty. Guys, the death sentence of the 70 gods happened way before Christ come, but what didn't die was their religions. They all clung unto, whether if you were Israel and Rome, the Roman Catholic thing, all of that, the Christian thing that was poorly taught, and many other religions of those 70 divisions, right? So there was no one in that temple for a reason. The last time Yahweh was mentioned basically would have been around the time of Moses, which goes back to very old times if you understand who Moses was. But that's, again, before this death sentence was handed down for screwing up the 70 locations on earth. So I know that will shake a few people's reality a little bit, but it's better to understand than to die deceived and chasing a son of Elohim and his poor methods of blood war, blood sacrifice, all of that. But the truth is the truth. I didn't go into Samaria here and read strictly from the Samaritan text. We mainly stayed in the Old Testament and the New Testament for a reason. So guys, digest this. We're going to talk about it again. And I know you've got questions, so put them in the comments. Keep it civil, even if you don't understand it. And I'm going to hear, would I still just believe in Jesus? Well, I didn't say don't believe in Jesus. I believe in Jesus. Okay? He came to straighten out the mess of the 70 foolish sons of God, of Elyon. But he took their immortal life. And he did that in the exact opposite way that there's a story in the cuneiforms about a separate entity that went there. And he was a human. He was taken up, and the gods offered him, or Elyon offered him, eternal life. Drink of this food and this drink. It's eternal life. But he was warned before he left that he had it. He was not like the gods. He had an eternal soul. His physical body would die, but the eternal soul was much better than a immortal body because it could be killed. We just saw how that happens. But he did not, this individual did not partake of that immortal drink or the food, and he returned to earth. They called him a Dappa. But anyway, guys, what has happened is just the opposite. God denied his sons that immortal bread and wine, or whatever you want to call it. They no longer had it. They begged Enoch to ask God to forgive them. But because of what they had done to his earth and to his people, he was very unhappy with it, and he knew their lying, cheating ways. They would go right back to it like spoiled kids if you let them out. So he ended that. But again, let me know what you think. I'm sure it's going to be varied, but some of you understand exactly what I'm saying. Some of you go back very deep into the Sumerian text and the original Hebrew writings and the Masoretic text, things like that. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching. Don't want to drag it out any further. Quick video, but a lot of data in there to absorb. It's a heads up. Be safe.